Okay, stage 3. We just finished stage 2. Now we're moving on to stage 3. And in the meantime, I've been out into my garden and I've picked a fuchsia. So this gives you an idea of what we're stitching. This section is what I consider is the ballerina skirt. This flower is not 100% open, so these petals will frill out a little bit more. We've put the top petals in, that's what I've just done. And I'm now going to demonstrate the pistil and the stamens. And on this particular flower, there are not a lot of stamens. Some fuchsias, they have a lot of stamens. And when I was writing the first silk ribbon book I did for fuchsias 30 years ago, I worked out that for my artistic eye, I preferred not to have a lot of stamens. So you'll always notice that my pieces of work do not have as many stamens as what nature has for some of the varieties of fuchsias. So this is personal, so it's just up to you how you go about doing this. Now I've got the chronic ribbon in my needle with a knot already, and I'm simply going to come up in underneath or share a hole with the knot of the chronic ribbon. No, I'm not happy with that position. With the knot of the chronic ribbon up in underneath the silk ribbon. And I've come up at that point so that I can judge where I am going to, how long I'm going to make this pistil. Now, some people like to have their pistils very long. It will depend on where you position the flowers in this piece, maybe as to how long you make your pistil. So this one is going over 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 10 or 11 canvas threads. Once I've got that pistil in and I'm happy with it, I'm then simply going to move on and put some of the stamens in. I tend to do a fan of 5 stitches for the stamens. I tend to do a fan of 5, total of 5 stitches. So what I'm doing is I've got the pistil in the middle and I'm just fanning the other stamens in and around that pistil. If you angle them slightly, again, I feel it looks more realistic than them all being straight, but that's your choice. And I try not to have these 4 stitches that I'm putting in now, and I'm making sure I'm tucking them in underneath the ribbon. So you do have to be careful if you're stitching through the ribbon at the back. I try not to have these 4 stitches that I've just done exactly the same, so I haven't echoed what I've done on that side on this side. I do like to try and have them a little bit different at times. This one I've realized the other day I have done it exactly the same, so it doesn't matter, but you don't have to worry about it if they're not all the same. Now, you're probably thinking, why hasn't she put the French knot in, or why didn't she do a pistil stitch? There is actually a stitch called a pistil stitch. The reason is, with having worked these stitches all in straight stitches, if I'm not happy with the position of where I've got these stitches, I can take them out and do them again. As soon as I put a French knot in, it means that I can't take them out and reposition them. So I'm happy with those straight stitches. So I'm now going to come over and just put a French knot at the base of the pistil. You can either share the same hole as your straight stitch, or I prefer to come up 1 thread below and go down into the hole where the end of the pistil stitch was. So there is my finished flower with the stamens in. the ballerina skirt, a few extra stitches at the bottom to give it a little bit of body, and the top petals. Now I'm going to move on and just show you how I do the leaves. Again, this silk ribbon is quite creased. I'm not worried about it. You'll notice that all the stitching that I've done, you can't see any of the creases. And these leaves that I put in earlier, the ribbon was quite creased as well. But I'm not worrying about that. So we simply put the ribbon into the needle. You'll observe I have never talked about locking the ribbon on. I've never ever locked the ribbon onto my needle. I actually don't like the feel of it. I don't like the restriction of it. And every time you go and use your silk ribbon, because it's locked onto the needle, you're wasting at least a needle length of ribbon. I've put the ribbon in a chenille needle, and I'm simply going to work some leaves in ribbon stitch. Again, you've got to hold your mouth the right way, pull the ribbon through, wriggling the ribbon. Put your finger on the ribbon if you want to, as you just wriggle and pull that through, and pull it through until you get a nice little point. Now these leaves are very, very flexible. It is a bit tempting to overstitch the number of leaves in your design. So put leaves in, walk away from your piece of work, or leave it till the next day and have a look at it. You can always add in. It's harder to take away. You can always add in, it's harder to take away. And that's speaking from experience. Again, you'll notice I don't pick up a laying tool. I've used my fingers to manipulate the ribbon, but that's just personal choice. I know a lot of you will have worked with a laying tool and been very, very comfortable with it. So please go ahead and use your laying tool. The ribbon's now getting a little bit creased, so I'm just going to finger press that a little bit. I've also worked with silk ribbon so much that I've got a sixth sense with it, which students can find very frustrating, but I have done years and years. For over 30 years I've been working with silk ribbon. But you do have to learn to read the silk ribbon and allow the silk ribbon to tell you where it's going to work the best. We are stitching nature. Every leaf, every flower is going to be different. So when I pull this through, oh good, I'm lucky now. I had in mind I wanted a leaf to come down to this area, lay down to the bottom left. So I was very lucky that the ribbon cooperated. If the ribbon happened to be a little bit narrow, or pull through and be a little bit narrow, that doesn't worry me either. Again, we are stitching nature. Now, this will be interesting to see because the ribbon has got a little bit creased. So I'm just going to try, you can't see, but I'm just getting that ribbon as uncreased as I can, and it's really playing up. So isn't that good to have a demonstration where it's just so I'm literally unrolling it and finger pressing it open. These ribbons are not cheap. Flip the ribbon over. I was trying to do that. I've flipped the ribbon back onto its back, and I'm going to get a much better leaf now. So you can even put, because I haven't got the ribbon locked to the needle, I can even put the needle in and then thread the ribbon through to get my stitch completed. Wriggle, wriggle. Okay, that's what I wanted. I wanted a leaf that wasn't exactly the same as the rest. All of these others have worked perfectly. This one isn't quite as good a shape. Doesn't matter. We're stitching nature. Every time you work a leaf, it's going to be different. Okay, so there we have another fuchsia flower finished with leaves. All the leaves are different on this piece. The flowers are slightly different. The colours help to make a difference. You can have great fun in selecting what colours you put together to make your fuchsia flower. So there is our fuchsia, and they're out of the garden. This one's out of the garden, and this is what we've stitched. Thank you for listening to these videos, and enjoy creating your own fuchsias.